Hey guys, these notes are for writing slope-intercept form. This is in Unit 3B. Our essential question is, why are multiple representations important? So just to begin, we've spent the last couple of days talking about point slope. And so let's review what point slope form looks like. So that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, now this form is called point slope form. Okay, point slope form is called point slope form because it gives you a point and a slope, right? So the point part is going to come from these two values. So that gives us our point of x1 comma y1. Okay, the slope part comes from the m, which is the slope. And m always represents our slope. The key thing about the point is that it does have opposite signs, right? So when we are given a point and we want to plug it back in, it's going to have opposite signs. And when we want to graph it, there's going to be opposite signs as well. So you have to think about opposite signs there. So that's just a review of point slope form. And the reason why I'm showing you point slope form is because we're going to have to use it in these notes. So let's go ahead and review what slope-intercept form looks like. Well, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. It's called slope-intercept form because it gives you a slope and an intercept. The slope is represented by the m value, okay? And then the intercept part is represented by the b value. Now the b value isn't just any intercept, it's the y-intercept. And we did talk about this form already while we were graphing it, but I just wanted to make sure we remembered. So we're given a slope and a y-intercept. The y-intercept is also known as the starting value. Now this is going to be really important for today when we're identifying the y-intercept and telling and answering what it actually means. So that is our starting value. And again, I would highlight or star that just so that you remember because that is very important. Okay? So moving on, how can I go from point slope form to slope-intercept form? So here we're given a point, 3, -2, and a slope of -4. I'm given point slope form. So the easiest form for me to plug it into is point slope because I'm given a point and a slope. Because slope-intercept, I would need a slope and a y-intercept. But they only gave me a slope. They didn't give me a y-intercept. So I got to start in point slope form. So let's go ahead and write down point slope form here. Okay, let's label our point. So our point here is x1, y1, and then our slope over here is our -4. So let's go ahead and plug it into the formula. So we have y, and then minus y1, and our y1 here is -2, but when I plug in, it's going to be +2 equals my slope, which is going to be -4 times x, and then minus x1, so that's going to be -3 because we have opposite signs. So here we have point slope form. But is this what the question wanted us to find? No, it wants us to go from point slope to slope-intercept form. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at these two forms here. What do you notice about the y's here? Okay, well, there's two y's in point slope and there's only one y in slope-intercept. More importantly, this y is all by itself. So in order to get this form into slope-intercept form, I need to get the y by itself. So let's go ahead and solve it like an equation, or simplify it, right? The first thing I'm going to do to start simplifying this is I'm going to distribute first. So I'm going to distribute -4 times x, which is going to give me -4x, and then -4 times -3, which is +12. Everything else remained the same because we didn't actually touch it or move it or anything. And remember, we want it into y equals mx plus b form. So I want the y by itself. Okay, so if we want the y by itself, the next step we would need to do is to subtract 2. And make sure when you're subtracting 2 from both sides that you're subtracting it from its like term. So we would subtract it from the 12 because those are like terms. So on the left, we have y equals -4x on the right, and then 12 minus 2 is +10. Is this in y equals mx plus b form? Yes. And just for fun, let's go ahead and identify the slope and the y-intercept. Our slope here is -4. Our y-intercept is 0, +10. So if I were to graph this, I would plot the 10 and then use the slope of -4. So we can go from point slope form to slope-intercept form. And we're going to have to do that a couple times or a few times in these notes. All right, so given the points -3, 5 and -2, 7, write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, for slope-intercept form, I need a slope and a y-intercept. I'm not given a slope or a y-intercept, but I know how to find slope if I have 2 points. Since I have the 2 points here, let's go ahead and find the slope. And we're going to use our slope formula for that. Okay, so m equals, we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember, we label just so that we don't get confused and we don't mess it up on accident. y2 is 7 minus our y1, which is 5. I always put the second number in parentheses. And then our x2 is -2 minus our x1 of -3. Okay, so these 2 blue signs are from the formula itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and simplify this. So that would be +2 over +1, which simplifies to just 2. That means that my slope is 2. But is this what it wanted us to find? Did it want us to just find the slope? No, right? It didn't ask for slope. It asked for a slope-intercept equation. So I need y equals mx plus b1. I am done with this. But right now, all I have is a slope. But I know how to go from point slope form to slope-intercept form. And for point slope form, I just need a point and a slope. So let's go ahead and pick a point. And it doesn't matter which point we pick. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the first one. So I'm going to pick the point -3, 5. And then I'm going to use the slope of m equals 2. Let's go ahead and plug this into slope-intercept form. Or not slope-intercept form, point slope form, because we know how to use that to get to slope-intercept. So using my point and my slope here, right? Let me go ahead and write that down on the side over here. M equals 2. So I'm going to have y minus 5 equals 2 times x plus 3. So using the point and the slope, I've plugged it into the point slope form. Now I know how to go from point slope form to slope intercept form because I did that in the last problem. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and draw a line down the middle to start simplifying this. First thing I'm going to do is distribute. And I know this side is going to stay the same. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times +3 is +6. And then my last step to get y by itself is to add 5 to both sides. Make sure you only add to like terms. Y equals 2x plus 11. Okay, now do I have slope-intercept form? Yes. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. There's a slope and an intercept. All right. And I don't have to identify the slope in the y-intercept here, but the slope would be 2, and the y-intercept would be 0, +11. All right, number 2. Given the table, write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so there's 2 tables here, so let's go ahead and do the first one. Well, the first thing I need to do is to write slope-intercept form is I need a slope and an intercept. Let's review what slope-intercept form looks like. That is y equals mx plus b. Now, the b represents the y-intercept. Well, I know that a y-intercept looks like 0, number. And actually, let's go ahead and write that at the very top of our notes. So a y-intercept is 0, number. Okay? It's where our graph crosses the y-axis. So it's going to be 0, number there. So I have a table here. So I'm given lots of points. And luckily for me, I actually have a y-intercept. If you notice, 0, -4 is the y-intercept because it has 0, number, right? It has 0 for the x value, and then it has something for a y. So it's our y-intercept. So our y-intercept here is 0, -4. But in order for me to write slope-intercept form, I also need the slope. So let's go ahead and find the slope. To find the slope, I can pick any 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the first 2 points to find the slope. Remember, our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll write my points out like this, just so that I see them. Okay. So this would be -7 minus -10 over -1 minus -2. And if you needed some help with that, make sure you come in for tutorials, but also make sure you're labeling as well. That also helps. Okay, so that's going to be how we set that up. -7 minus -10 is going to be +3. And then -1 minus -2 is going to be +1. That means my slope is +3. But is this what they wanted me to find? No, it wanted me to find the equation in slope-intercept form. So, slope-intercept form needs a slope and a y-intercept. Now this one, I don't even have to put it in point slope form because they already gave me the y-intercept. The y-intercept is -4. So when I plug this in into y equals mx plus b, right? Let's go ahead and make this red just like above. Well, I know it's y equals, what's my m? I just solved for it. It's 3. And then x plus, or minus, right? Our b here is going to be -4 because it's from our y-intercept. So I got the slope, the green part, from finding the slope, and I got the -4 part from knowing that my table already gave me a y-intercept. So this would be my final answer. So this one was not that bad. All we had to do was find slope. The table already gave me the y-intercept. Now looking at the next table, this one doesn't give me a y-intercept, so I'm going to have to do more work for this one. But I always know that I'm going to need a slope. So let's go ahead and find the slope first. So let's go ahead and pick any 2 points to find our slope here. We'll find our 2 slopes, our 2 points here, so 3, 3, and 6, 5. We're going to find our slope equals, this would be 5 minus 3 over 6 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. 6 minus 3 is 3. So my slope here is 2/3. But is this what it wanted me to find? No, right? We want to keep going. It wants a slope-intercept form. It doesn't give me a y-intercept, so I'm going to have to go to point-slope form. Point-slope form, remember, we need a point and a slope. And it doesn't matter what point we pick. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the last one. Let's pick that as my point. But you can pick any point. It does not matter. So we're going to go ahead and put this in point-slope form. Point-slope form is super useful. It's probably my favorite form because of how useful it is. So using the information I have, my y1, so x1, y1, right? My y1 is going to be -9 equals my slope of 2/3. I found my slope earlier. And then we have x minus x1, so that'd be -12. Okay? Now this still is not what it wanted. It wanted slope-intercept, so I have to keep going. So let's go ahead and distribute. 2/3 times x is 2/3 x. 2/3 times 12, let's put that in the calculator because I'm not the greatest at mental math. This would be -8. So 2/3 times -12 is going to give me -8. I didn't do anything to this left side, so let me go ahead and copy that down. And then I want to keep going because I want it in y equals mx plus b form, which means y needs to be by itself. So we're going to add 9 to both sides and make sure you're only adding to like terms. So y equals 2/3 x plus 1. And that would be my final answer because now it's in slope-intercept form. So again, the one on the left was a lot easier because it gave us the y-intercept. The one on the right, we had to do a little bit more work because it didn't. But we always know that we can always start in point-slope form as long as I have a point and a slope. All right, so moving on, we have 2 graphs. Given the graph, write an equation in slope-intercept form. So we're going to go ahead and look at these graphs. So if I look at this graph, I'm like, okay, well, I want to write it in slope-intercept form, right? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. I need a slope and a y-intercept. Well, do I have a slope? No, but I could find it, right? When I have a graph, I can find slope by using rise over run. So let's go ahead and pick a point to start at, and it doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to start right here. So let's go ahead and rise. To get to the next point, we would go up 1. That would mean that'd be +1 for my rise. And then to run, we would run to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're running to the left, so that's -4. So my slope is -1, 4. But is that my answer? Is this my answer? No. It wants a slope-intercept form equation. You have to keep going. So for slope-intercept form, I need a slope and a y-intercept. So we got the slope, and now we need the y-intercept. Does the graph give me the y-intercept? Yes, right here. It's where the graph crosses the y-axis. My y-intercept is 0, +1. I have this y-intercept, I have a slope, so let's go ahead and put it into slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. We know that's what it looks like, so let's go ahead and plug in the information we know. Y equals what's the slope that we found? Our slope was -1/4. And then we have x. And then our y-intercept was at +1, so we're going to have +1. So the blue part, the slope, was from when we used rise over run. And then the y-intercept where it says +1 is we got that from the graph. It showed us the y-intercept. So this one wasn't too bad. You just need to be able to get those bits and pieces yourself. All right, with the next problem, we're given another graph. We need to write it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so we're going to need the slope and the y-intercept. Well, didn't give us the slope, but we can find the slope. So the slope, we would do rise over run. I'm going to go ahead and let's just pick this point, why not? We're going to rise. So let's go ahead and go to the next point. We would rise 1, 2, 3. We would rise +3. And then when we run, we would run +1 to the right. So our slope here is +3. But again, that's not my answer. I still need to find the y-intercept. Well, lucky for me, it actually gave me the y-intercept. It crosses right here on the y-axis. So that y-intercept is the point 0, -2. So since I have all the pieces I need for slope-intercept form, let's go ahead and plug them in. Our slope here is 3. And our y-intercept here is -2. So the graphs are pretty easy as long as you have the y-intercept. If you don't have the y-intercept, you will have to start in point slope and then go to slope-intercept, kind of like what we did with this table here. All right, moving on. Number 4, Jordan makes snow cones at parties for extra money. He charges a $15 booking fee and charges $10 per hour at the party. What is the equation in slope-intercept form? So let's go ahead and take a look at our equation here and how we could create one. So we know that he charges $15 for the booking fee. So at the very beginning, we know he's going to charge that up front. And then we also know that he charges $10 per hour. The key word being here is per. When I see per hour or each hour or like each minute, each mile, something like that, it's going to ring a bell to me that says, hey, this is probably the slope. So per or each is going to tell me that it's the slope if I see that. Keywords. Those are keywords for me. So our equation here would be, well, we know it's in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. So let's fill in what we know. Y equals, well, what's my slope here? Well, they're charging $10. Jordan's charging $10 per hour, so that's going to be my slope. Okay, and then what's our y-intercept? Well, he charges $15 also for just the booking fee, so you start off charging $15. So that would be our equation. Now, we also encountered this problem when we were in class. Y equals 15x plus 10. Why is this equation wrong? Well, this equation would be not correct because you're saying that you're charging $15 per hour and you charge a $10 booking fee. So the way you put the numbers does matter. Okay, what is the y-intercept here? Well, the y-intercept here would be 0, 15. What does it mean? It means he starts. Remember, the y-intercept is the starting value. So I'm going to be using start a lot. Just like at the very beginning of our notes, we identified the y-intercept as the starting value. So let me go back down. So he starts by charging $15. He starts by doing that. That's what the y-intercept means. What's the slope? Where our slope here would be 10. Okay, because it's always attached, because it's m, right? Our slope is 10. So our slope, what does it mean? It means that he charges $10 per hour. Again, the per or the each or whatever it says for per and each, it should tip off to you that, hey, this might be the slope. All right, moving on to number 5. Timmy is stuck on an island. He only has 30 pounds of food. He eats 2 pounds of food each day. What is the equation in slope-intercept form? Okay, so let's go ahead and look. Well, we know what? He's stuck on an island and he only has 30 pounds of food. So he starts off with 30 pounds of food, and then he eats 2 pounds of food each day. Keyword being each. Did I circle that on the last one? I did. Okay, remember, each and per tip off to me, hey, this might be the slope. So let's go ahead and write our equation. We want it to be in slope-intercept form, so I know that looks like y equals mx plus b. So let's fill in the information that we know. Y equals, what would my slope be here? Well, your slope is going to be how much you intake each day. And then our y-intercept would be how much we start with. So some people think about the y-intercept first. Let's go ahead and just do that first. Well, we know that he starts off with 30 pounds of food. So I had two equations come up to me in class. So these are the two equations that people came up with. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at both of these. The first equation says that you start off with 30 pounds of food and then you're getting 2 pounds of food each day, okay, because it's positive 2. This equation on the right is saying that you start off with 30 pounds of food and you're taking away 2 pounds of food each day. Well, Timmy's eating those 2 pounds of food. So he starts off with 30 pounds of food and then every single day he's eating it. So he's losing the food. So the correct equation would be the one on the right. So if I were to create an equation, it would be y equals 30 minus 2x, okay? Because you're eating those 2 pounds of food each day, you're taking it away. The other way to write this, if you wanted to, you could say, or y equals negative 2x plus 30, right? It's still the same thing as this, it's just flipped around, and that's okay. But you don't have to write it that way. I like to think this way, so that's the way that I usually write it. Okay, well, what's our y-intercept here? Remember, your y-intercept is going to be your b value. Our b value here is 30, so 0, 30. What does that mean? Well, that means that Timmy starts with 30 pounds of food. Remember, the y-intercept is a starting value. Okay, what is the slope? Well, our slope here would be negative 2. And what does that mean? It means he eats 2 pounds each day. Okay, because he's eating 2 pounds each day, he's losing it, that's why it's negative. All right, so that is pretty much slope-intercept form, the first day of just tackling this down. So let's go ahead and just kind of review what we've talked about. So we're able to go from point slope to slope-intercept, which is super useful, and you will need to do that at some points. And it's really helpful to just remember, like, hey, I can go from point slope to slope-intercept. I know how to get y by itself. And that might be the case, right? So like in number 1, they didn't give us a y-intercept. We had to go and start in point slope. The first thing we needed to do was, of course, find the slope. But you know how to find the slope, you use the slope formula. With tables, again, if they give you the y-intercept, it makes life a lot easier. If it doesn't, you're going to have to go to point slope. With graphs, same thing. If it gives you the y-intercept, you're in luck. And all you have to do is find the slope. And you just do rise over run for that. And then with these word problems, again, you're just trying to see if you're able to get information out of a word problem and create an equation. Remember, your y-intercept is your starting value, and your slope is always what's the rate of change, right? Slope is the same thing as rate of change, like what's going on from day to day or minute to minute, hour to hour. Just think about that. And per or each is going to tip off to you, hey, this might be the slope, or it is the slope, right? All right, so that is it for writing slope-intercept form for just the part 1. If you have any questions, please feel free to come into tutorials.